Hey, Chris Velasco with Engadget here, and if you thought Lenovo had the only cool stuff to unveil today, well, you're sort of dead wrong. We have right here the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force, two brand new Moto smartphones from who else, and I gotta tell you, they're pretty fantastic. Let's start with the Moto Z, and on paper it is a little bit similar to some of the other flagships we've seen. As a Snapdragon 820 chipset inside, 4 GB of RAM, either 32 or 64 GB of storage, and a micro SD card slot that takes up to 2 TB of storage, but that's only half the story. We have to take a look at this. It's an incredibly thin device, probably the thinnest available on the market right now. It's 5.2 millimeters. We've got a USB Type-C port on the bottom, a pretty noticeable 13 megapixel camera hump. And if you take a look around the edges, there's something missing. There is no headphone jack. This is the first major flagship smartphone that we've seen that does not have a headphone jack. So you're gonna get a USB Type-C adapter that runs out to a regular headphone jack, which is helpful, but there will be headphones available that run into this jack at some point, and you'll always be able to Bluetooth. Now, as you'd expect from this spec sheet, this is an incredibly fast phone. I've been playing with it for a little while now. I've had no trouble launching apps, jumping in between them, and generally trying to be kind of a jerk to flummox it. No problems at all. One thing to keep in mind about this particular version is that it's a Verizon exclusive, the Droid Edition, which does unfortunately mean it comes with quite a bit of bloatware. There is going to be an unlocked version available this fall directly from Motorola, but we're going to have to wait until we get our hands on that. Now, the Moto Z isn't actually alone. There is one more version, the Moto Z Force, which is its thicker, but altogether slightly more interesting cousin. So let's take a look around the back. Not much has changed with the size of the hump, but is a better sensor. It's a 21 megapixel sensor with phase detection autofocus and a laser autofocusing module to get it really crisp and tight on your subjects. It is also obviously a little thicker, but that is because we've got a bigger battery. Motorola says this is rated for about 40 hours of continued use, up from about 30 on the regular Moto Z, which actually, if you think about it, is still pretty impressive for a phone that thin. One thing you'll notice about both the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force is it does have this particular guy right here. That's not a home button, that's a fingerprint sensor. You're gonna use that to unlock the device. It can be a little confusing, especially if you're looking at the white lens model, the model with a white face, because you have these two proximity sensors on the left and right, which kind of make it look like back and multitasking buttons for Android. That's not what it is. It took me a little while to get used to it. Hopefully you're smarter than me and that's not an issue for you, but something to keep in mind. Perhaps the best thing the Moto Z Force has going for it is the shatter shield, which we first saw on the Droid Turbo 2. It's great for shocks, great for drops. It should keep the screen in one piece. I actually took my Droid Turbo 2 and ran it over with my car, and it made it through okay. Don't do that, but this thing would probably survive it even if you accidentally did. I have to say the build quality on these guys is absolutely phenomenal. We have a sturdy metal ring around the back, metal construction throughout. It feels very lightweight, but also incredibly sturdy, which is a really nice package, especially for the Moto Z because it is so slim. You might have noticed there is one more thing on the back here. We've got this array of 16 pins. These pins are what allowed Motorola to build what are called Modal Mods, really cool add-ons for your smartphone that extend the use of your device without having to go through a really icky disassembly process like with the LG G5. Keeping in line with the Moto X's customization, we do have different style shields available for the Moto Z. More importantly than that, though, is what these pins allow you to do. The pins also allow you to transfer data and power, which is really helpful if your phone is running out of battery, because you can pop on something like a battery case, which looks phenomenal, if only because it looks like it's actually part of your phone. It's not a case that sits over it. It really feels like it's part of a unified whole. Beyond that, JBL has also worked with Motorola to create a speaker that magnetically attaches to the back of the phone. Once that's plugged in, any audio playing through the device will run through the speaker on the back instead, which is neat if you want to share with friends, and perhaps most importantly, if you want to share video with people and you don't want to pass your phone around, you could attach a projector pointed at your wall and have a great time. It's still a little too early to pass judgment on the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force. They're incredibly well-built phones and perhaps the best-looking phones Motorola has made in a long time. More importantly than that, though, they're a great reminder that Motorola hasn't been completely Lenovo. There is this sort of wild spark of energy and creativity that's especially apparent with mods that I'm very pleased to see. There's a lot more happening at Lenovo Tech World today, but we cannot wait to get these things in for the full review treatment, so stay tuned for more.